Mr. Speaker, sir, I am grateful to the honorable members who have participated in the debate and given very valuable suggestions. I do not propose to take up points along with the names of members who have raised them. I have culled out a few items, a few issues on which I would like to submit to the House my views. Sir, we have come a long way since 1991 and the conditions of 1991. I do not want to remember them nor to remind the House of them. I would only say that in this long journey of the nation, we have come to a point where we can look to the future with certain amount of confidence and optimism, and that is the main thrust of the President's address to the members of Parliament. I would endorse that spirit, I would endorse that optimism, because what has been done during the last 4 years does justify that optimism. Facts, figures, situation as we have seen from time to time, we have lived through these 4 years, all this is witness to the fact that the optimism of the President of Rashtrapati Ji is fully justified. Sir, there seems to be some forgetting of what we said last year and the year before last, because when we talked this year, we seem to think that we are saying something for the first time. Sir, I would like to remind the House that ever since 1991, the spirit of the government's actions has been the same. The purpose of actions of the government and the policies of the government has not changed. It has been on the same lines. And from 1991 to 92, of course, we were only doing firefighting. From 92 onwards, you will find a continuity in the programs, in the policies, in the attitudes, and in the thrust of whatever the central government has been doing. I started in 1991 to say that our actions have followed the basic principle of continuity with change. As our economic situation has improved, our commitment to the poor manifested in higher outlays, and higher outlays can be seen from the figures which are available to the House. Year after year, this has happened. This has been a common thread all through in the President's addresses, budgets, and policy formulations. As a result, every year from 1992 onwards saw an increasing number of programs being fielded. In 1992, I had clearly stated that we will not accept the proposition of unlimited capitalism and leave the poor out. Our position was stated very clearly, and in 1993 I had stated that budget of 1993-94 intends to give a major push to our policy of reducing poverty and increasing employment. This is what we call human face from day one. We are not calling it for the first time this year. Uplift of the poor is an article of faith with us. That is why in 1994 there was a note of optimism in the President's address, and this year that optimism and self-assurance has been vindicated. Our thrust and commitment to the basic philosophy of the Congress has continued uninterrupted. While our achievements have been significant, there are many problems which still face the country. There is no gainsaying that. And to these problems, reference has been made by the honorable members, and I would like to respond to as many of them as I can. So the first criticism which has been leveled not only today but year after year against the new economic policy is that the policy is wrong and the policy is against the interests of the country. So this criticism I do not have to answer with any great stress and do not have to belabor the point too much, because my task has been rendered easier by what has been happening during the last few months, or at least a year, maybe more than a year, when successive governments, not ruled by Congress, have come back to the same line. And during the last 2 or 3 days, we can see in the newspapers a lineup of chief ministers, just elected chief ministers, coming for investment from wherever it is available, making it absolutely clear that they have no hesitation in getting this investment, because they know, as we know, that this investment is necessary. The only difference is that some people read the writing on the wall a little earlier, others read it a little later. But eventually all read it, and that is the great thing about this country. And I do not have to answer that point at all. But there is one point this year, sir, which has been stressed a little because of certain exigencies coming in the next 1 year, I presume. There has been a wedge being driven between the foreign investor and the local industrialist. Now, this is something which doesn't exist. This discrimination does not exist, but it is sought to be portrayed like this. I would appeal to honorable members not to do this, because this is not going to be in the interest of the country. We have not made any distinction, any discrimination against the local investor or local industrialist, and in fact, whatever local industry needed as protection, that has been given and that will continue to be given, but it cannot be the protection, the absolute protection to keep out everybody from outside as the protection that they have enjoyed for the last 30 or 40 years. There has to be a change, and that change has come. It is possible that some members might say that the pace of this protection or the withdrawal of this protection, lowering of this protection, has been a little quicker than necessary. That is a matter of perception, and I feel that according to government, according to all calculations made by the government, all assessments made by the government, this protection or this withdrawal of protection, lowering of the protection, has not been to the detriment of the local industry. There has been some criticism that the policy for encouraging foreign investment has been at the cost of domestic industry. The decision to invite foreign direct investment was on account of our need to add to resource availability, induction of modern technology, and upgradation of marketing and management skills available in the country. Accordingly, when any foreign company has sought fiscal, tax, or tariff concessions, it has been advised that proposal-specific concessions are not part of the system. We do it across the board. There is a policy, a change in the policy. Everybody falls in line with that policy, and there are no favorites played in this game. Such changes are made as part of the budget and are applicable to all companies in a sector, irrespective of whether they are Indian joint ventures or foreign owned. We are consistently monitoring this aspect to ensure that Indian companies are not put to any disadvantage. Some honorable members mentioned that the policy has encouraged the takeover of Indian industry by multinationals. This is not true. Where the Indian companies have, for instance, for reasons of infusion of capital or technology, sought to allow the foreign company to enhance its equity stake, the government has accorded permission. However, we have made it incumbent upon Indian companies applying for such a change in equity structure to have the endorsement of the board, their own boards of management or shareholders of the Indian company before government accords such approvals. All these moves have been voluntary decisions of the company and not predatory ones or imposed by the government or imposed by. Maruti is not today's, Maruti is an old case. I am somewhat surprised to hear that domestic industry has been adversely affected by the policies. Now I am quoting some figures. The financial results of the corporate sector do not seem to indicate this. I understand that the provisional financial results for 135 major companies for the 6 months period ending in September 1994 have been high level of profits. Except for 5 companies, all the rest have done well, and the percentage growth of profits over the previous year for many companies has been in figures up to triple digits, not even double digits, triple digits. As a sample, this does not reflect a domestic industry which has been hurt by the reform process. I should also like once again to state that foreign investment has come into sectors to which we have attached importance. I would emphasize that 83% of approvals accorded for foreign equity investment have been in the priority sectors, with the major share being in power, oil refineries, metallurgical industries, chemicals, transportation, food processing, electronic equipment, etc. Even the balance of 17% consists of the service sector 8%, textiles 4%, leather and rubber goods 0.8%, soaps, cosmetics and vegetable oils 0.3%, 0.3%, trading companies 0.3%, fermentation industries 1.0%, and miscellaneous industries like jewelry, toys, locks, sports equipment, etc. 2%. Thus, there is clearly no distortion in the investment pattern in favor of an undesirable proliferation of consumer industries.
Please don't interfere.
I would wish to draw the attention of the members to 2 interesting features of the foreign investment proposals approved by the government. In the first 3 years of the policy, the number of projects approved for companies in which foreign equity exceeds 75% were only 8.7% of the total. This illustrates that investment is mainly coming with Indian partners, and this would ensure that Indian companies are getting the benefit of upgraded technology, marketing and managing inputs, inflow of the additional capital injection, and increased employment. Similarly, if we take the total number of approvals accorded for projects with foreign equity exceeding rupees 300 crores, these amount to only 13 out of 2,526. On the other hand, those with foreign equity below 3 crores is 2,006. It would be evident that the companies that are availing of the advantages of foreign investment are not big multinational giants, but small and medium companies. Their partnership with emerging small and medium entrepreneurs should be encouraged rather than shunned. And this is the answer to the criticism that has been leveled in this connection, sir. Figures are so clear. All in all, I feel that industry has adjusted well to the changed economic environment. In 1994-95, the growth in the manufacturing sector was 9.2%. It is particularly noteworthy that our capital goods sector has shown resilience, and its growth in the same period has been 24.7% above the previous year. Surely this does not reflect an industrial sector under pressure from foreign capital. In addition to this, sir, we are in touch with the industrial sector, the local domestic industrial sector, almost all the time, continuously. I have had interaction. I am sure other ministers have had interaction. I am equally sure that honorable members of the opposition, leaders of the opposition, chief ministers of their other states, states other than Congress states, are constantly in touch with them. We have not come across any such direct or indirect complaint that the Indian industry is suffering as a result of foreign investment coming. This has not come to my notice, but I would certainly like to know if there are any instances of this kind, and if there is any such feeling, any such prevailing feeling that such a thing is happening. I would certainly like to know about it. I have not come across that. I am telling you. You can, this is what I am saying. If there are instances, yes, we could certainly go into them, but as a policy and as a general fallout of the policy, this has not happened. This is what I would like to tell. Sir, there has been some criticism about the WTO. This is again a matter which has been figuring in our debates. Yeah? Every third day
is being closed down.
Every third day I have a very large, very influential delegation of members of parliament, particularly from West Bengal, CPIM or CPI, buttressed by some union leaders also, their own leaders. They come and tell me that what all we are doing is wrong. All I have to do is to refer the matter to the Chief Minister of West Bengal, nothing else. Sir, Mr. Somnath Chatterjee has netted more foreign investments in the last 6 months than the entire government of India has done in 4 years. So his rhetoric also has very suitably changed, and this change is a welcome change. Sir, about the GATT, we have been the contracting parties right from the beginning. I remember very well when we had these discussions in Ponta de Estel, in Uruguay. Mr. V.P. Singh, who was then the finance minister, was accompanied by Mr. K.C. Pant, who was then perhaps the defense minister, and a very important delegation went from here. We have been fighting the battle of the, on behalf of the developing countries right through. I may also say, sir, that in this battle, many of the other developing countries, even big developing countries, fell by the wayside. If anyone has continued the battle throughout, it is India, and maybe one or two others, but many have had to yield. We have not yielded. But this is a multilateral forum. Now, in the non-aligned, in the G77, in any forum of the developing countries, what have we been saying consistently, persistently, that we want a multilateral system of trade. This has been there for the last 25, 30 years. We have been saying this. And whenever one country seeks to dominate another through bilateral arrangements, we have been opposing it tooth and nail. Therefore, today, when we have a multilateral forum finalized, working, to say that all this is wrong is something like putting the clock back. I am afraid we cannot do that, and we should not do that. It is not in national interest to do that. Yes, when there is multilateral negotiation, there is always something like a give, something like a take. Now we will have to see how far our interests are being served, and I am absolutely certain, sir, that in all these long negotiations, very persistent negotiations, hard negotiations, our government has done extremely well, and on the whole we have come out with more gains, and that is how we have become the uh, champions of the champion of the developing countries. I do not have anything to be ashamed of it. I do not have anything to apologize for this. Sir, I now come to some of the important matters have been raised, like the social sectors. Now, again, in continuation with the human face that we have been advocating, I must submit to the House that in the very first budget presented by this government, we had clearly stated our commitment, as I just said. Rural development was allocated. I think these figures have been quoted by many other members. I do not have to repeat them. What I would like to say is that every year we are fielding some new programs for the alleviation of poverty and the increase in the employment opportunities. Special programs targeting the poor and weaker sections were initiated in the last 4 years. These programs include revamped public distribution system, employment assurance scheme, Mahila Samriddhi Yojana, Prime Minister's Rozgar Yojana, Intensive Jawahar Rozgar Yojana, and Artisans Toolkits programs. Under the revamped public distribution system, sir, as honorable members know, food grains are supplied at reduced price, that is reduced to by about rupees 50 per quintal, less than the central issued price. Now on this I would like to say, some members have raised this point, sir, it's a very valid point, that the market price and the RPDS price are more or less the same, therefore the offtake is coming down. I agree that this has been seen, but why is it happening? We are not very clear about it as yet. We are making studies about this, and my own feeling is that we may have to raise this differential of rupees 50 further, so that in the RPDS blocks, in the shops run there by the government, it may be possible to sell these commodities at even cheaper prices than they are selling at the moment. But it is also possible that the diminution in the offtake has other reasons. It is possible that people go to the open market, they have more advantages in going to the open market and buying things rather than going to the fair price shops. The fair price shop wala may not be very regular and so on. There may be many reasons. We will have to go into those reasons, but I agree that this differential of 50 rupees per is not necessarily the only reason. To the extent this reason is found to be valid, I would certainly like to go into it. In fact, sir, our study today is now centered around the poorest families and their family budgets. We are going there, and from there we are building up the policy structure of what is to be done on prices, what is to be done on food subsidy. Food subsidy, as honorable members know, was 4,000 crores until last year. This year it has come to 5,200 crores. Now it's not just a matter of raising it. The point is, why are we raising it and what is the advantage of raising it? It is possible that we may be raising it, but it may be going only to the FCI and their officers, and their expenditure, etc., may not reach the ultimate consumer. So now we are chasing this point from the beginning to the end. That study, that exercise has been started, sir, and I would like to know what is the percentage which the producer gets and what is the percentage which is wasted between the producer and the ultimate consumer. We have come to the figure of 61.2%, which is what the producer gets. I agree that the other people are getting too much, and a part of what the other people are getting should go to the consumer or to the producer. In principle, I agree. But how is it to be done? We have a huge organization like the FCI. If you do not have that organization, in a country like India, it is not possible to have food security. So, because we have had 4 or 5 good seasons, are we going to gamble with our security? This should be very wrong. But at the same time, if you have this very huge organization, as it is today, how are you going to bring down the difference between what the producer is getting and what the consumer is getting, and in between whatever is being got by the other people? Now this is the question we are addressing, sir. In the next few weeks, I am sure we will be able to find some way of getting the producer a little more or the consumer a little more of this concession, so that the middleman, it's not the middleman, just not a trader, but it is an organization. So whatever the middleman, within quotes you might say, that expenditure is reduced to the minimum, and the benefit goes either to the producer or to the consumer, or both if necessary. Sir.
Free movement of food grains is not yet being permitted in all these places.
Sir, we have experimented with free movement. It has not been found useful all over the country. We see that if you allow free movement today, some states will stand to gain, many states will stand to lose. It all depends on whether the state is a surplus state or a deficit state. I mean, this is well known. We have tried it for the last 20, 25 years, one way, the other, and we have seen that, you see, there has to be some way of tracking down what is happening in the movement of food grains, because the whole country being one, we have to see that disparities in prices also should not be too much. Sir, now the supply of improved toolkits to rural artisans, sir, this is a very quiet program, but this has been going on in a very successful manner with great benefit to the artisans in our villages. So far, 2.46 lakh artisans, that means almost half the villages, or maybe more than 1/3 of the villages have been covered. The artisans are happy. They are not really any longer going to the cities, because their tools are better. They are able to become more productive, and that kind of urbanization has been more or less reduced. The scheme has been extended to all the districts in the country this year, sir. So,
विकास के बारे में आप जो कह रहे हैं, ये आपको गलत इंफॉर्मेशन दी जा रही है। ये केवल कागजी आंकड़े हैं, गांव में ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है। कृपा करके इसको ठीक से कराइए। ये केवल कागजी आंकड़े हैं।
After the speech of the Prime Minister is over, the questions can be asked, but I would request you, sir, not to allow any interruption.
I have seen, I am not leaving anything to chance. I am not only supervising these things personally. I have kept this ministry with myself with some ideas or some purpose. I am myself monitoring every one of these programs, not 100%, but as a sample. Day after tomorrow I am going to Orissa. We have had a program of visiting villages, sitting at the with the district collectors, sitting with the people who are beneficiaries, finding out what is happening, calling the bank people also in the PMRY. We are involving everybody, including myself. That is why I have kept this ministry with myself, and I can say with certain amount of personal knowledge. I am not saying that 100% everything that I am saying is happening, but I am at least able to see some things happening, and I am able to satisfy myself that something is reaching the people, which was not the case earlier, because so many barriers were coming in the way. So besides rupees 2,808, now the toolkits program, we have now started giving power toolkits. Now the artisans are saying, we have got electricity in the village, why should we use the old toolkits which don't use power? Now we are now changing. In Punjab the other day, number of people told me that Punjab has electricity in every village, so why don't you change this? I immediately made a commitment there publicly that wherever the toolkits are not, do not run on electricity, they will be changed and a new toolkit will be given, power-driven toolkit, which of course costs about 1,000 or 2,000 rupees more than the other one, but we are prepared to do that. Wherever there is electricity in every village, any village, we are prepared to change that, sir. To promote self-employment amongst the educated unemployed youth, as one honorable member was just saying, that all this money is being wasted. Now I would like to assure him, if he wants, he can come with me. I will give him the list of those who have been benefited. I will give the list of what he is doing, what each one of these beneficiaries is doing. I have called for those lists, block-wise, district-wise, village-wise if you wish. But of course, in a country of this size, 30,000 or 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs does not make any impact, I agree. But then this is how you start. Maybe next year we will go to 5 lakhs. After that we will go to 10 lakhs. So this is how every boy or girl who is a little educated, not very much educated, not highly educated, but he cannot go out of the village, he has no money. Now he is being rehabilitated in this manner. We can show you all the details, give you all the details that are needed, and if there are any bogus things, I am prepared to take action. In this, the bank people, I am told, in many cases, are not cooperating to the extent they should. Now, we are pulling up the bank people. We will see to it that they cooperate, and if they have any difficulty in their actual operation, then we will see that those difficulties are removed. So, sir, the program is so designed that it covers all sections of society and all areas in the country. Last year, as honorable members know, a urban poverty alleviation program has been started to cover 345 class 2 towns and would involve urban local bodies in accordance with the 74th Constitution Amendment Act in all aspects of the scheme. A provision of rupees 100 crores has been made, and I am sure that it will take off this year in a real way, in a big way. The 11th schedule of the 73rd Amendment relates to the panchayats in the rural areas, and it provides for 29 functions which could be entrusted to them. Now this has to be really done to the hilt. This has been done only partly at the moment because the panchayats are in the process of coming into existence, and when they come, all this will have to be implemented, sir, and most of the programs that we have started would be made over to the panchayats, and it would be possible for the panchayats to ground them, to field them wherever they want. Sir, this year, for the first time, those who are not covered by any of these programs are being covered, like old people, like survivors of families whose main bread earner has died, and provision of sustenance of prenatal and postnatal maternity care to poor women for first 2 births, creation of a new rural infrastructural development fund, expansion of the midday meal scheme for school children, a group life insurance scheme for the LIC to be implemented by panchayats in the rural areas, and schemes for assistance by way of better credit for small-scale industries and khadi and village industries. I am very glad to say in this connection, sir, that under the Indira Awas Yojana, we have doubled the target. 10 lakhs of houses will be built this year. I have also now decided that the families of ex-servicemen, sir, who belong to those villages, they will also be included among the beneficiaries of the Indira Awas Yojana. Yesterday, I have also decided that this benefit will be extended to the paramilitary forces also, Yesterday I had a very pleasant experience of some social reform among the paramilitary forces. Some young men had died in action in Kashmir. Now their widows, just about 20 years, 22 years, 23 years old widows, a social organization among them has managed to arrange their remarriage with young men from the same forces. I saw them. It's a
12,000 में क्या होगा?
May I request?
Sir, I am on a different point. Sir, it's not about the money I am
this
speaking.
is not good.
It is about the transformation that I am speaking, sir. And if this is appreciated, we can certainly think of how much is to be paid to them. That's a different matter that we can then do. So in the Indira Awas Yojana, the point I was making is that all these sections are also being included. Now I'll come to this J&K, sir, which has been raised by many. Sir, what has been done in J&K, steps have been intensified to control militancy through sustained operations against terrorists in order to reduce the fear of the gun. The security forces have scored a number of significant successes. Number two, a number of detainees, including prominent secessionist leaders, have been released. They have not only been released, they have come to Delhi. They have been allowed to have free discussions with many leaders of the political parties. They have been allowed to visit some embassies, etc. And this kind of general interaction is being encouraged. It's taking place. The delimitation process is now underway, and the work of revision of electoral rolls is also expected to be completed shortly. In the context of our efforts to revive the political process, it was important that the civil administration became functional. The restoration of the morale of the local administration, coupled with disenchantment of the public with the militants, has improved the overall ground situation. And I am saying this with certain amount of responsibility. It is not just to tell the House what is not true. I am saying all this from not only reports, but from very, very reliable sources. I understand that there is a general improvement, and people do want election, they do want the electoral process to start. They are still afraid of the gun. That fear of the gun, although much reduced, still remains. This is the position, sir. There has been a noticeable step up in the pace of developmental activities. Since 1 year, sir, since 1 year, we have been paying special attention to the developmental aspects in Jammu and Kashmir. A special plan assistance of rupees 993 crores was given to J&K in 94-95. Schemes are being closely monitored. I had personally deputed 2 teams of union secretaries drawn from 15 sensitive ministries of the government in critical areas of development. Under various central sector programs, rupees 200 crores were made available during 94-95. There has been a marked enthusiasm among the people to come forward and avail of the benefits under programs like the IRDP, Jawahar Rozgar Yojana and Employment Assurance Scheme. Let me mention the comparative picture of achievements in 93-94. In 93-94, JRY 25.50 lakh man days, 94-95, 65.93 lakh man days. And IAY, Indira Awas Yojana, 390 houses in 93-94, 1,697 houses in 94-95. Million well scheme, 1,563 wells in 93-94, 3,409 in 1994-95. The step up which has been achieved is to be noted, sir. And sir, rice supply to the state increased from 36,200 tons to 44,000 tons, and wheat allotment from 20,000 tons to 30,000 tons per month. Since the people of J&K have a preference for coarse rice, special teams were deployed to bring this rice from Punjab, Haryana and UP to J&K. So far, 45,000 tons of rice has been moved to the valley since October 1994. Under the RPDS, जी नहीं, सब जगह हुआ है. A massive program has also begun. A massive program has also begun on top priority to restore schools, bridges, hospitals and electric installations damaged by the militants. The terrorists had damaged 450 educational institutions ranging from primary schools to colleges. These are all being repaired. This is the work that's being done, sir. And I shall not give too many details. What I would like to submit to the House is, I have noted the opinions of all the members in this, on this matter. From all accounts, sir, I am being very careful in submitting to the House the exact position as it is today. From all accounts, conditions are improving for the electoral process to be taken up. I am consulting with leaders of the opposition parties. Right now, I am engaged in that. Government has noted the desire for more autonomy voiced in several quarters. And soon after completing the round of consultations, I will take the Parliament into confidence with clear-cut proposals. This is what I propose to do, sir, in this session. The next few days, I would like your indulgence to give me some time to take the House into confidence. On defense, sir, mention has been made in the House of the Agni and Prithvi programs. And as honorable members are aware, Agni is a technology demonstrator and the project has been to our satisfaction. I visited the factory only 4 days back, sir. As for Prithvi, the phase of user trials is over and subsequent activities are in hand. I would like to assure the House that there is no question of any outside pressures compelling us to delay or to compromise on our defense requirements. Whatever we believe needs to be done to secure the defense of the nation will be done. Sir, about external affairs, I would very briefly say that in the next 2 or 3 days we are going to have the summit of the SAARC countries. I would not like to say anything about our relations with separately with individual countries at this juncture when the SAARC summit is to take place. All I would like to say is that we are trying our very best to improve relations from our side. There has not been any lapse. We would appreciate if this is properly responded to. For the first time, we are going to have the SAPTA, that is the South Asian Preferential Trading Arrangement, being initiated this year. For 10 years, we have not been able to make any headway in the SAARC meetings, in SAARC summits, on the trade arrangements or the trade relations between the countries. This should have been done long ago, but for reasons which are not so unknown, and this has not happened. This year it's going to happen, and I would like to submit to the House that this is a happy augury that within these 7 countries, some preferential trade treatments are also going to be given to one another, and this will really result in what we have seen in a combination like the ASEAN. In the last 15 to 20 years, how ASEAN has gone from strength to strength, in the same manner it is possible for SAARC also to perform in the coming years. These are what I really wanted to place before the House, sir. If there are anything more, I am prepared to respond.
Price rise, unemployment, exit policy, Sikh industries, which he raised, specifically we raised this point. The Honorable Prime Minister has not even referred to them, sir.